In this video, I'll cover how OpenVR Motion Compensation works with motion platforms, the reasons to use it, how to get it, set it up and tune it, and finally how I built the bracket used to stabilize the controller for tracking. The first question many people have is, what is motion compensation? Well, motion compensation, or sometimes called motion cancellation, is basically a process that eliminates the motion platform's movements from a VR image. Here's an example of how it works. This is a simple setup of a motion platform, a VR headset, and its view, the base stations viewing the headset, and the visual image seen in the headset from the game. When you're sitting still in the motion platform with a VR headset, the image you see in VR is directly in front of you. So for a race car, you are centered in the driver's seat, and you see out in front of the vehicle as you normally would when driving. But if you were to suddenly stand and get out of the motion platform while still being in VR, you would suddenly be outside of the vehicle, since you move the VR headset away from the center point of where the driver's seat is at. If you lean forward, you would be in the dashboard. If you were to walk over to the right side of the platform, you might be in the passenger seat. The VR image is repositioned based on the location of the VR headset. Now, when the motion platform makes a large movement, you move with it, and of course so does the VR headset. The VR software will then move the image as well. So as the platform moves to the left, the VR image moves to the left and it might appear as you're leaning out the window. The VR software simply knows that the VR headset is moving in that direction. It can be more extreme for large movements, and you will notice it more often in sims that tend to move you on a more specific axis, such as drifting in the car on a smooth surface, performing high G maneuvers in a tight cockpit like an F1 race car or fighter jet. The way to fix this is to have the software track the motion of the platform by adding a tracker or controller to the platform, and then use software like OpenVR Motion Compensation to remove the motion from the image by adjusting it before it's seen in the VR headset. Now, when the platform moves, the motion of the platform is canceled out or compensated for in the final VR view, so it appears as if you are still firmly in the driver's seat, but you will feel the motion of the platform when moving, just like in a race car, and experience those G-forces. Thus it creates an incredibly immersive experience, just like if you were driving a car or flying an aircraft. You are still able to move and turn your head around since it's tracking the VR headset. It's simply removing the movement of the tracker you attach to the platform. The next question, do I really need motion compensation? Not really. You can play and get used to these movements in the VR image. Since the platform is moving, you're moving too, and your head can shake, and you might not really notice the image shift depending on how much the platform moves. You can even dial down the motion in Sim Racing Studio by reducing the power max angle slider to limit the amount of the VR image shifting since the platform isn't moving as much. But once you experience motion compensation that is set up well, it's hard to go back to not using it. The level of immersion increases significantly because you're seeing the image exactly how it would appear in real life. The motion feels more realistic since you just feel the motion versus seeing it move in the VR image. So you've been warned. The saying, ignorance is bliss, definitely applies here. Once you taste motion compensation, you can't go back without it, much like a motion platform, shaker kits, wind kits, or even just VR. Now, before we get started, there's a few things you should know. Setting up motion compensation is not an easy task. This is advanced stuff, and there will be a lot of things you'll need to figure out on your own. The software can easily break since it's not officially supported by Steam or any other company. Versions of the software for motion compensation can easily break if there's a Steam update, so be warned. You will need to tune the software based on your setup. Each VR headset is a little different, so there is not a one-size-fits-all setting. You will need to fabricate a mount to hold the controller used for VR motion tracking. The bracket must be firmly mounted and have some level of vibration mitigation. If you use any kind of transducers like the Sim Racing Studio shaker kits or a Butt Kicker Gamer 2. If you have a Windows Mixed Reality headset like the HP Reverb, it will work, but you'll need to mount the controller in front of you so the VR headset can see the controller. I won't cover it much in this tutorial since I don't have one, but the principles are the same as the Valve Index. Finally, motion compensation is purely a community-developed software. Please support those in the community working to develop this awesome feature, and ensure to let the VR manufacturers and Valve know that an API is sorely needed to help advance our hobby for VR and motion platforms. Okay, let's get to work. The first thing you'll need to do is go to the OpenVR Motion Compensation website and download the most recent version, which is 0.3.2 at the time of this recording of the video. There's a huge amount of information here in the FAQ, tested devices, and known issues. The install and setup is extremely simple. You just go to the download page, download the most recent version, run the executable, and the installer will automatically copy the files to the right location, and then you're done. And the next step is setting it up within SteamVR. OpenVR Motion Compensation can be turned on at any time, even after you launch the game and forget to turn it on, but it's a good practice to start it before you launch anything to verify it's working. Once you launch SteamVR, open up the Steam dashboard via the menu button on your controller or the menu button on the bottom left of the Valve index. If you've installed OpenVR Motion Compensation successfully, you will see a gear icon on the lower left of the toolbar. Then click on the gear icon to launch OpenVR Motion Compensation. If you don't see the gear icon, sometimes restarting the headset will load the application. Also ensure it's enabled in the SteamVR settings menu under Startup and Shutdown, and in the Choose Startup Overlay Apps section. You can also verify it's in the Manage Add-ons section as well. At the top of the screen, once you've launched OpenVR Motion Compensation, it'll list HMD, which stands for Head-Mounted Display. You should have something listed here if your headset is detected. Below that, it will list the reference tracker, and it is a tracker we'll utilize to track the motion of your platform. I usually only start up one controller, so it makes it easy to identify. If you have multiple controllers on, choose the one that is mounted on the platform. You can select the Identify button, which should flash the LED on the controller to identify it. If for any reasons you don't see the items listed or you get a device not found error message, please refer to the website for more information or visit the OpenVR Motion Compensation Discord channel for more assistance, which is linked below. Once both your HMD and tracker are listed, click the box next to Enable Motion Compensation, and then click the Apply button on the right. Motion compensation will immediately activate. Depending on your VR headset, you might see the image shift as it aligns itself with the controller tracker. It should only last a second, which is a good visual cue it's been activated and working. Now all you need to do is launch your games normally and see how motion compensation is working. If everything looks solid, perfect. Now you can enjoy motion compensation by doing these steps I've outlined every time you start up SteamVR. However, if the image is swimming around, out of sync, or wobbly and shaky, you'll have to adjust the settings in the motion compensation to work correctly. Go back to the Steam dashboard in VR, click on the gear icon for motion compensation. This time, click the Settings button on the left. This will pull up the settings page where you can adjust the motion compensation filter strengths. The primary settings you should utilize are LPF Beta Value and DEMA samples. I won't be covering set velocity and acceleration to 0 since it's primarily for Oculus and Windows Mixed Reality VR headsets, and sets all the velocity and acceleration values to 0 that are sent to the headset. So it might help with rendering issues. Beyond that, I have no idea how to use it, so check the website. The other settings are for offsets, for virtual driver, or for Fly PT Mover, and it's virtual driver for a virtual tracker. If you want more information, please review the virtual tracker section on the OpenVR Motion Compensation website. For LPF Beta Value, it's basically a filter that cancels out vibrations encountered by the tracker on the motion platform. These vibrations can occur from general motion, but also transducers like the Sim Racing Studios shake kits and the Butt Kicker Gamer 2 can cause shaking as well. The stronger the filter, the slower the motion gets. The filter acts like a car suspension on a bumpy road. If you have a soft suspension, you don't get as many vibrations, but the feeling is very mushy and unresponsive. This would be the same as having the low LPF beta value like 0.05, 0.10, or 0.15. If the car suspension is hard, you feel more vibrations, but the car is also more responsive. This would be like having a high LPF beta value, like 0.80 or 0.90. The setting for the LPF beta value can be set between a range of 0 and 1, within a decimal value of 0.5. A good starting point is 0.20 for base station tracked devices like the Valve Index controller, which is the default setting. DEMA samples work the other way around. The DEMA is for translation of X, Y, and Z, and the low-pass filter is for rotation. It uses a technique called spherical linear interpolation to make a filter possible, but it's just really the other side of the equation to provide motion compensation. Basically, a higher value will filter vibrations better, but you will notice the swimming or lagging picture if set too high. Go with the steps of 20 and tune from there. Some people have success with lowering DEMA samples down to 20 or even 10 if you get a lot of swimming motion. The default setting for DEMA samples is 100. And that's it for settings. If you need more information, again, please visit the website or check out the OpenVR Motion Compensation Discord channel, both which are linked below. Now on to tracker mounting. How you decide to mount a tracker will have a large impact on performance. The more you can mitigate unwanted motion by making it firmly attached, as well as having the ability to absorb vibration, is a delicate balance based on the material you use and where it's mounted. The basic fundamentals are 1. It must be firmly mounted, zip ties aren't enough, and 2. It must have some vibration dampening capabilities. First, for firmly mounting the tracker, I highly recommend using something that can bolt or clamp down the controller to the platform. Zip ties or Velcro can still shift with the motion of the platform, which will result in the VR image shifting. Even tiny movements or shaking will be seen in the VR image, since the motion compensation software is trying to compensate for it. However, it must be balanced with mitigating vibrations. Transducers can send small vibrations through the platform frame. Metal-on-metal contact will make those vibrations easier to reach the tracker. There are 2 methods you can use to mitigate those vibrations. 1. Use a vibration dampening material like sorbothane or rubber. Any solid that has some level of viscosity will help to absorb the vibrational energy before it reaches the tracker. You want to avoid dampening systems used for drone cameras, since it actually causes more jiggling and shaking in the tracker, since most cameras have a built-in vibration mitigation system. Sorbothane was specifically created to absorb vibration, so if you can get it, use it, but it isn't cheap. Rubber washers or similar are next, but try to find soft rubber or something that will compress well. Remember, it needs to be able to absorb vibration, so the softer the material, the better. I'll list the materials I used in the description below. The second method is just pure mass. The heavier the object, the more energy it takes to vibrate it. By putting something heavy in between the tracker and the platform, it will help to absorb the vibrational energy. Simple weights work, heavier still for the bracket. Whatever you have will work, but the more mass, the better. Remember though, you still want the platform to be balanced, so don't go overboard on the weight, and you'll be limited to space available as well. Next, where do you place the tracker? Well, if you have a Windows mixed reality headset like the Reverb, you want the tracker to be in view of the cameras and mounted to the platform, so usually in front of you works best. If the camera loses sight of the tracker, you'll see the VR image drift or suddenly snap back into alignment as it finds the tracker again. Remember, the Windows mixed reality headset needs to see the controller at all times. For the Valve Index and other headsets that use base stations, you can mount the tracker anywhere on the platform as long as the base stations can see the tracker. However, I like to have it near my head so it's actually close to the actual movement of the headset from the motion of the platform. It might not be needed due to the crazy math involved, but it also keeps it slightly above my head so the base stations can easily see the tracker at all angles. You can experiment based off your platform. Here's what I did specifically for the mounting of my index controller. The index controller is mounted on a 24-inch, 1-inch by 2-inch steel tube to the back of the seat. The controller is held in place by a small rig super clamp, which allows for easy removal if I need it for other VR games. I've also run a USB cable up through the chair so it's continuously charged and ready to go. Near the top of the steel tube are 20 1-ounce wheel weights to add additional mass to help absorb any remaining vibrations. I utilized 2 heavy monitor desk mount brackets due to their increased mass and attached the steel tube utilizing a combination of sorbothane and standard rubber washers to mitigate vibrations to the bracket to chair and bracket to steel tubing connection. I drilled 4 holes through the back of the chair since trying to adapt the steel tube to the bottom of the platform at the time was too difficult in terms of engineering and fabrication for what I had available. The bolts utilized to hold the 1-inch by 2-inch steel tube utilize a combination of sorbothane and rubber washers as well. It is tightened down to be very secure, which squashes the sorbothane and the rubber out, but it creates a thin layer of dampening material, avoids metal-on-metal contact as much as possible, and works extremely well to mitigate vibrations. I fabricated a top bracket, covered it in a PVC cap, and secured the bracket with 2 bolts. There is a central bolt that extends upward that allows the mounting of the small rig super clamp. There are other examples of great mounts. Examples include a 3D printed solution that attaches to the belt holes at the top of the chair. Other solutions have a bracket extending down to the lower frame, so drilling holes into the chair is not mandatory, but it was the only solution I had at the time. That's all I can cover for motion compensation and how to get it working. If you need more information, again, please visit the links below. Hopefully this helps anyone thinking about using motion compensation. It's an incredible experience when it's working properly, and I can't imagine using VR on my motion platform without it. Thanks for watching.